Hello Year 8. So for today's lesson we are looking at Takeaway Project Lesson 4. Now the aim of this lesson is to find some recipes that you could potentially use to create basically a takeaway for your family. So your first task that you need to do is you need to think about two potential recipes that you could cook. So I'd like you to come up with two different ones. So preferably try and make them not too similar, so that you've got a few different things to say about them at the end. Now, the two dishes you need to choose must be appealing but also have a consideration to healthy eating. So try not to choose anything that's got lots of saturated fat in it or is cooked in lots of oil, etc. So have a think about what would be the healthiest option. Is it that you found a recipe that mentions frying, but actually it could also be cooked in an alternative way that maybe is not quite so unhealthy? So have a think about that. Also have a think about what sections of the Eat Well guide it actually comes under as well, because you'll be asked to think about that later. Okay, so for this task, I suggest that either you look through the internet, so I've put over here a couple of websites for you to use if you want, or you can use your own website, either's fine. But try not to spend too long on this task. You've got about 5 to 10 minutes to do it. I wouldn't spend much longer than that, or else you'll just end up wasting your time and you won't have time for the tasks later on. Also, have a real think about what ingredients are available to you for this task, as you will be expected to pick one of them to make later. So your next lesson after this, you will be completing one of these recipes at home that you can make for your family. So just bear that in mind, that at that point you will be asked to create your recipe. Obviously you might choose to then do that in a separate time to our lesson time, because it might be that parents are either working from home or are not available at that time. So you need to think very carefully about when parents are available to supervise you in the kitchen and when would be an appropriate time that fits in with your family that you can do this task. So if you are looking at a cookbook, so effectively, right, I've got a cookbook here. So effectively you need to look through and have an idea of what sort of things you might decide to cook for your takeaway at home. So most cookbooks will start off with a contents page. They include a few different things that you might be considering. So here I've got even a whole section on takeaways, so you could use that if you wanted to. So I've just selected one recipe that I have decided to look at. So the way a cookbook is usually set out is it will have the name of the dish, it will tell you how many people it serves and how long it will take to cook. So have a bit of consideration to how long it will take to cook. If it ends up being too long, it's about a 3-hour meal, you're probably not going to get that finished and you're probably going to end up losing patience with it a little bit. So try and stick to something that's sort of under an hour really, in order to create this. You've then got your list of ingredients and it tells you how much of each thing you need, and over here you've got your instructions. So for task 2, if we look back over here at Frog, we are going to present the two recipes in any way that you like. So when I say any way that you like, you don't have to write this out. You can just copy it or take a picture of it from the cookbook or from the internet and use it that way. But you must make sure that you consider your presentation and it must be neat. Now it says there it needs to include those 3 things. So a picture of the finished dish, how to make the dish and the ingredients. So think about those things before you start just copying things through. Remember to check with your parents before you just copy this onto a document as well, because it may be that it includes ingredients that you don't have access to. Okay, so then for task 3, you are going to then evaluate your 2 recipes. Okay, now to do that, you're going to answer the questions that are underneath task 3 as fully as you can. Please try and write it in full sentences, and effectively the idea is that you're explaining why you think that particular recipe would be a good choice for you to make for your family. So there's some questions there for you to think about, particularly think about these ones regarding the Eat Well guide and what consideration does your dish show to healthy eating. Down the bottom here I've also added, please include this paragraph in a different colour font so it's clear to see which is your paragraph and which parts are your recipe. If I was you, the way I'd present this is opening up a PowerPoint document, copying in your recipe and then adding your paragraph in a different coloured font. Should be one paragraph for each recipe, and then you have a file drop at the bottom with success criteria for you to upload your work. If you have any questions about this, please make sure that you send a message to your teacher and get help if you need it.